When I started my original speech, I did mention that it might not be politically correct. The evening has progressed somewhat, and I can absolutely guarantee that what I'm about to share with you is not particularly politically correct. If anybody is offended by me taking the pith, now is the time to go. So, my wife went to the doctors. She's at that age where it's just getting a little bit, what do they call it? PMT? Something like that. And she went to the doctors. She went to the doctors for a checkup. And when she came home, I said to my darling wife, "How did you get on, darling? What is the medical? Thank you. How are things with you in terms of the doctor?" And she said, "Well, actually, my blood pressure's okay. Everything else is all right." And actually, the doctor paid me a compliment. For those of you who are still listening, he paid me a compliment. He said, "I got the tits of a 25-year-old." Yeah. I said, "That's amazing, darling. What about your 55-year-old arse?" She said, "You weren't mentioned." Prince Charles, are any of you royalists? Prince Charles was representing the Queen on a tour, let's call it abroad. And one morning he came out of his rather posh tent wearing a David Crockett hat. Do you know what that is? It's like a furry thing with like a foxtail at the back. No, never mind the bloody raccoon. It's important. It's a fox, all right. So he's got this. He's got this hat on with this foxtail at the back, and his, what do you call the manservant to a prince? The valet. The valet said to Charles, "Charles, it's 90 degrees. Please tell me, why are you wearing this hat?" He said, "Mummy told me to wear it." He said, "What? Please explain yourself." He said, "Well, I rang Mummy last night and said, 'I'm representing you in Africa, Mum, and it's going okay.' And she said, 'Well, where are you in Africa?' And he said, I'm in the Ngora Ngora." She said, "Oh, where the fuck's that?" Okay. Oh, yeah. Do I need to explain it?
It's much too clean, Paul.
Yeah. Three lovely old ladies were sitting on a park bench, having a natter, enjoying themselves, and the local streaker walked up to them and stood to attention, and two of them had a stroke. The other one was too slow and missed the opportunity. Okay. Three nuns were killed. It's always in threes, isn't it? 3 nuns were killed in a car crash. And they went to the pearly gates, like you do. And because of political correctness, the keeper of the gates said, "You're telling me you're nuns. You may not be nuns. I'm going to ask you very specific questions. And if you answer me correctly, you'll be allowed in. And if you don't answer me correctly, you will not be allowed in." So he said to the first nun, "Who was the first man created by God?" She thought about it and she said, "Adam." "Correct." And the pearly gates opened and the trumpets played and in she went. He asked the second nun, "Who was the first woman created by God?" She thought about it. She said, "Eve." "Correct." And the gates opened and the music played and in she went. He asked the third nun, what were the first words Eve said to Adam? She thought about it for a minute. She thought about it for another minute because she wanted to go in the pearly gates. And eventually she said, that's a hard one. And the gates opened. And in she went. There you go. On that note, time's up. I trust you enjoyed it.
Total ways,
Wow.
3,795.
Well, once again, let's thank Paul the St. Martin for a great evening. Thank you, Paul.